Hey there everyone, welcome back to another video. Today we'll be looking at IGCSE Biology, Coordination and Response, Part 2. If you still haven't watched the first part, go watch that first and then come watch this video. Without any further ado, let's get started. So we'll be looking at sense organs today. Let's choose a color, red. Okay, what are sense organs? These are a group of receptor cells that are able to respond to specific stimuli. The stimuli could be light, sound, touch, temperature, chemicals, or pressure. The following are the five sense organs in the human body. The eyes, the ears, the nose, the tongue, and the skin. Your eye, for example, is a sense organ and contains receptor cells in the retina. These receptor cells are sensitive in the eye are sensitive to light. It has receptor cells in the retina, and that is why it is a sense organ because it's able to respond to that specific stimuli that is detected by the receptors. Skin detects touch, that is pain, pressure, and temperature. Eyes detect light, nose detects smell, ears detect noise, and tongue detects taste. Then we have parts of the eye. This is really important because this is the foundation of basically the subtopic of this chapter. So let's look at conjunctiva is basically this part which protects the inside of the eye. Okay. Then we have our cornea. Cornea refracts light. Oops, let me use here. Cornea basically just refracts. We'll look into the refraction of light. Then we have the pupil. It controls the amount of light entering the eye. Then we have iris. Iris, it controls how much light enters the pupil and the lens which focuses light onto the retina. Now this is the retina. This is the retina and it's slightly like this. Yeah. The retina contains light receptors. We'll look further into the retina as we move ahead. And then there's this one part called fovea that's not labeled in your textbook. And we'll look at what fovea does as well. Then we have the blind spot where there are no receptor cells and the optic nerve which carries impulse from the retina to the brain. So what is the retina? The retina is at the back of the eye. This is where the receptor cells are. When light falls onto the receptor cells, like let's say this is the retina. So they are saying that when light falls on a receptor cell in the retina, the cell sends an electrical impulse along the optic nerve to the brain. So when light falls on it like this, an electrical impulse is generated, and this goes to the eventually goes to the brain for an image to be formed. Yeah, so to build up an image. Some of these receptor cells are sensitive to light of different colors, enabling us to see colored images. There are no receptor cells where the optic nerve leaves the retina. This part is called the blind spot. Basically, this part is called the blind spot because there are no receptor cells, so no light. Even if light falls onto it, an image would not be formed. That's why it's called blind spot. If light falls on the blind spot, no impulse would be sent to the brain, hence no image will be built. Then we have rods and cones. Think you should really pay attention here. We have two kinds of receptor cells that are photoreceptors. Photo meaning light and receptor means specialized cells that detect stimuli in the retina. They are the cones and rods. Why are they cones and rods? Basically, the rod is in a shape of a rectangle, which is also basically the shape of a rod. That's why it's called rod, apparently. And the cone is also because of its triangular shape like this, which looks like a cone, apparently. Like a cone looks like this, but yeah, you get the gist, right? That's why they are called rod and cone. Then rods are sensitive to quite dim light or night vision and do not respond to colors. So let's be writing them down. Rod are sensitive to dim light or night vision, dim light. No response to colors. Response. No response to colors. Then cones are able to distinguish between the different colors of light. So response to light for color but they only function when the light is quite bright. Light quite bright. Quite bright. We have three different kinds of cones, not rods, three different kinds of rods sensitive to red, green, and blue light. Rods therefore allow us to see in the dim light, basically in the night, but only in black and white, while cones give us color vision. You might be like, whenever the questions are based on rods and cones, you're most likely going to be asked to give their differences, which will most likely be for 4 marks. So I think you should be able to do it. Just state these points. Then the fovea contains almost entirely cones packed tightly together. Let's draw. So we have our retina like this. Not accurate, but why not? So this part is called the fovea. Now the fovea has almost all the cones packed tightly together. When we look directly at an object, we use our cones to produce a sharp image in color. Rods are found further in the retina, further in the lining of the retina, and are less tightly packed. Rods show us a less detailed image. The closer together the receptor cells are, the clearer the image the brain can produce. The part of the retina where the receptor cells are packed most closely together is called the fovea. The receptor cells, mostly cones, this is the part of the retina where light is focused so that it goes to the brain and then an image is generated. And because it's focused on the fovea, where the most cone cells or most receptor cells are concentrated, a clear image is formed. Now, have you ever noticed that let's say from morning to evening, you see clear things like very sharp things, but if it's nighttime and you close the light, off the light and you're going to sleep, you see that everything glows black. And then suddenly you start to see a bit of shadows and you can't tell where which things are, right? That's because of the rods. And the morning to evening, because you can see light, that's due to the cones. Then differences between rods and cones. We said rods are like this in the form of a rod. That means that this is a rod, this is a rod, this is a rod, this. They are all rods. And we said cones are like this. But cones come in three different colors: red, green, and blue. So we have this to be our cones, right? So I hope you can tell the differences between a rod and a cone. Moving on, we have pupil reflex. Before we move into a pupil reflex, let's imagine something. I want you to imagine this to be your eye, okay? This is your eye. I know my drawing is not particularly good, but let's manage. So this is your eyebrows. You don't need your eyebrows. Forget the eyebrows. You see, inside your eye, these outside muscles are called radial muscles, and the muscles inside are called your circular muscles. These muscles work together to control how much light enters the eye. And they are antagonistic muscles, which mean when one contracts, the other one relaxes. And when one of them relaxes, the other one contracts. Okay? So whenever light intensity is high, okay, the radial muscles, let me change the color. Whenever light intensity is high, the radial muscles, which is the outside muscles, are going to relax. Just that's all. And if they are going to relax, that means the circular muscles are going to contract. And the opposite happens for when light intensity is low. The radial muscles contract, and then the circular muscles relax. Then we have accommodation. Accommodation is the change in the shape of the eye lens. That's really important. Change in the shape of the eye lens to focus on objects at different distances from the eye. For the brain to see a clear image, there must be a clear image focused on the retina. Light rays must be bent so that they focus exactly onto the retina. And being a science student and someone who does physics, you must know that when light rays are bent, it's refraction, something like this. Yeah. The shape of the lens is altered to make light bend rays by different amounts. The thicker the lens, the more it bends the light ray. The thinner it is, the less it bends them. The lens makes fine adjustments and refracts light rays. More refraction of the light entering the eye is done by the cornea. Remember this. So we are focusing on near objects. Okay, yeah. So when we are looking at the structure of the eye, right? These are two muscles that you must know. Remember that the one closer to the this thing is the suspensory ligament. The one further apart is the ciliary muscles. Now, whenever we are focusing on a near object, the lens is going to be thick lens. And the sensory that's the sensory ligaments that are near are going to relax, and the ciliary muscles are going to contract, which will allow proper refraction of light and you being able to see things clearly. Then we are focusing on distant objects. Now, when you're focusing on a distant object, your lens, oops, your lens is going to be thin and your suspensory ligament muscles are going to contract while your ciliary muscles are going to relax.